The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
When it comes to the Nürburgring in recent decades, it has become known for one constant: excitement. Since its debut of the Grand Prix Strecke circuit in 1984, some of the greatest names in Formula 1 history have come out on top of the podium here. It was here that a young Michael Schumacher closed a 22-second gap to John Alesi, finishing off the pass in the closing laps of the 1995 European Grand Prix to win his first of many events here. It was also here when Fernando Alonso came out on top in 2005 when Kimi Räikkönen crashed, entering the Hockhaken on the final lap after mechanical failures. It's a track known to cause pressure, and a track where mistakes can come in hand, and a fun track where skill can come in hand. Today, the top drivers in the Batteries Not Included series will look to add another page to the history books at this circuit. Up next on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening everyone from across the globe. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the move tonight is Stefan Schlacker, while behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And as you look at this beautiful circuit from above the ground here in Nürburgring, Rhineland-Palatinate, Germany, Stefan, it was said prior to the 2013 German Grand Prix by Mark Webber that this is a beautiful little circuit for them to still drive on, that he felt all his fellow Formula 1 competitors love to go around. The same could likely be said for many of today's drivers that we'll see today. What can you tell us about the circuit today?
Well, first of all, also from me, guten Nachmittag aus Nürburgring. The Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke is and probably always will be considered a small track in a giant shadow, but as you said, it's quite liked by pretty much everyone that races here. But it's still a highly underrated track. Massive elevation change, fast and with great flow, this track has its own challenges to offer for the drivers. 3.2 miles in length, or roughly 5.2 kilometers, it boasts with a whopping 52 meters of elevation change. That's roughly as tall as a 17-story building. Being built in 1984, this track has undergone quite some changes over the last 30 years, but most of them were concentrated in the area of the first few turns that now make the Mercedes move. The current layout's 16 turns make it tricky to get your car set up and get that perfect lap. But why not show you how tricky it really is as we take you on board with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Clayton McLeod and the GSRC Williams, so let's do a lap around the Nürburgring. Coming down to the Haughook, this is probably one of the best places to overtake. But watch out, because it's a very sharp bend, so drivers might be taking slightly different lines and your pass may inadvertently cross. From there, you head into the Mercedes arena, which is mostly composed of slow corners. 3 and 4 in particular can be difficult to find speed in, though it will be easy to lose time by overdriving it. Patience will be required, and also a good sense of where your front wing is so that you don't clatter into the other driver's gearbox. Finally, you get to stretch your legs a little bit on the way down to Valvoline. But this bend is much faster than you'd expect, so passes rarely happen into here. Quickly, you've got to pull left and set up for the forward curve. Anyone who gets a bad exit is going to be very vulnerable. That's because the plunge down towards the Dunlop hairpin offers a great opportunity to overtake. There's a little bit of banking here, but ideally, you want to square it off to give yourself a better launch. Any slow corner like this needs you to be wary of how much you stomp the throttle, then it's easily flat out through the Schumacher S. It'll be tough for the car behind to withstand the dirty air, but if they do, they could be looking for a pass down into 11. Keep your head up if anyone is close behind you. It's another quick switch of direction to set up for Bilstein, which plays a critical role in the lap. Being slow off this corner is like holding the door wide open for anybody halfway close to you. Through the kink, you'll start to climb back uphill, and then it's hard braking for the Vidal chicane. This is a very popular place to overtake, which is why Bilstein is so important. After that, it's a short burst up to Coca-Cola. On rare occasions, you might see a sneak attack at this hairpin, but it takes a specific set of circumstances. A good launch will be important to safeguarding yourself from an overtake down into the first corner, but hopefully you've now finished a lap around the Nürburgring.
And that's a lap around this beautiful circuit, 3.2 miles today, 16 turns. But for these drivers, they enter the second round of the season here entering the Nürburgring. Let's take a look at your championship standings as they start off qualifying in the backdrop. Stefan, as you can see, things looking pretty close to start off.
Yeah, that's obviously due to the way that they put out the points here. Even spread for all are 4 points away from each other. But Blake McLeod, great race last time around. He was your winner of the first race. Joseph Fabian, he was second place, and he is also second place in your driver's standings. Gabriel Duarte, the Brazilian driver, in third place. Stefan Henkel, Germany, fourth place. And we have the second Australian in here in fifth, Jeffrey Price. I'm really looking forward to see what he can do today. But speaking about today, how are the race details looking for today's race?
I was just about to get to that there. As you can see, the part of the reason for the points being so close, they run through the official iRacing point system, which averages out via the iRating for many of the drivers as they enter the second round of the season, and a season where they have up to 4 drop weeks available to them. Today's race, about 1 hour distance or 39 laps today, 2/3 of a distance. All the setups, open setups available, 67% fuel cap for these drivers, so they will have to make 1 pit stop in their Williams Toyota FW31s. There is no incident cap for this race, but there's of course no fast repairs at this track either, so it's of course a track where you don't want to make mistakes or end up damaging your machines for sure. And as you're looking at your qualifying here, Jerome Haig, pardon me, is on your screen right now as we continue on the start of group qualifying. They have 10 minutes to record their qualifying times. Practice times range for the 131s all the way down to as low as 134s today. So a pretty fast circuit for these Williams Toyota FW31s.
Yeah, indeed, and we are actually, I think we're not even that far away from the absolute track record set in 2004 by, obviously, who else? Michael Schumacher. So I'm expecting quite a close race to see here, but we probably will see a bit of a skill gap because that's just how the Grand Prix track plays out.
For those wondering, the real-world Grand Prix Strecke record set in the 2002 to present circuit configuration by Michael Schumacher was a 129.468 set with the Ferrari F2004. That was back in 2004 as you follow on with Steven Kempsa now on your screen. But for a lot of these drivers, it's now, there's a few different places, of course, they can try and make passes here of the circuit. Why don't we talk about where the best places to try and take advantage of drivers to try and move up the grid will be today?
Well, we're Thomas Ziegler, he's coming up to the first passing zone, turn 1. It's a bit downhill. The apex is falling quite far away from you, but it's still a very good place to overtake because the exit is so wide. You can also make a bit of a pass where Damon is coming up now. You can do a bit there, but obviously then we go up to the NGK chicane, and that's your main place for anything to happen as we follow Damon up there to that place.
Yeah, David Martinez on your screen, as you just seen a few moments ago at the top of your screen. Daniel Benefield is on the top of the qualifying boards. Martinez will now exit his way out of the final corner out of the Coca-Cola curb and work his way down the front stretch. He sets a 131.702, which puts him on provisional 4th spot on the grid as you look back at Daniel Benefield. Benefield right now on the pole by a full 9/10 of a second with the pace he's setting across the track.
Yeah, I'm expecting that to close in still, because especially the fast guys like Neil Andrews, He put in a 30.9 in practice. He's sitting right now on a 32.2. Also, Johan Rampi, who we see right now, I'm expecting him to go a lot faster than he's doing right now. As you can see, his fastest lap so far, 32.1, and that's not his pace.
The official Lotus 79 champion, the Preacher, tries to work his way across the circuit, as you see 7th on the board right now with a 132.152 with 5 minutes to go in qualifying. But as talked about a little bit, mistakes could come so much into play here. There's a lot of danger zones. Just talking about that big first corner passing zone downhill down to the Hoghacken, that's also a place where if you say lock up the brakes or go too aggressively, can absolutely destroy your race with contact.
Yeah, speaking contact, you have obviously the passing zones that are your danger zones.
Yeah.
But the biggest danger zone here is actually the Michael Schumacher S, because of how the curbs play out. If you get them wrong, you're gonna get sent off into one of the barriers, either on the left or the right side.
Indeed, right now, and that's something to watch for as we look at Neil M. Andrews now on the board, still with a 132.7, his fastest lap on the racetrack. That is 13th best. So looking to try and close that as he works his way, in fact, right through the MGK chicane. As he just had an off track, as you just seen right now, in fact, on your screen. So there's a little bit more of a mistake. He will not be able to pick up the recorded time. As for those that don't know with iRacing, if you have an incident during your qualifying lap or even touch the walls, you will not have a recorded lap. But in your opinion, what is the best strategy for drivers to try and come away with the victory today to get on the top step of the podium?
Obviously, first, it's to qualify up there because of the bit of a skill gap we see right now here in the qualifying times. We're ranging here right now 5 seconds between 1st and 18th. And then obviously it comes down to your pit strategy, because we have, as we already mentioned, we have that capped fuel cell with 67% of Daniel Benefield new fastest lap time right there on the top of your screen. And then you have to take about 20 or 25 kilogram on your pit stop. So there is a bit of variancy. You can also go lighter in your first stint and have a longer second stint. So it comes a lot down to strategy.
I absolutely agree with you. It's going to be the question of who will come out on top of the best strategy today. You're looking at Fabian Jambluth, though. He has had 2 straight laps of incidents on his qualifying laps so far. So he will try and pick up some time. In practice, he ran a 131.9, which would have put him up at least into the top 10. We'll have to see how he tries to close things on up on this time around the circuit. In terms of the points standing, 7th entering today's race after the top 10 in the first race of the season last week. He works his way through the MGK chicane once again, and through the last corner where a lot of drivers say they will lose speed. This Coca-Cola curve down the front stretch. Let's see what time he can put himself onto the board. And as you just seen there, a 132.3, 11th spot on the grid. Not good enough. Looks like he may have barely enough time for one more as we look at Stefan Manecki now on your screen. And one thing to note, your points leader, Clayton McLeod, is also recorded in a time in the past couple moments. He's just 10th on the board and trying to run his final lap time as well in his purple and black machine as they try and close out their laps right now. Now with a minute 15 to work with right now, and in terms of today's race, more than 20 plus entrants for batteries not included second round. Track position could be so key, I think, potentially for a lot of these drivers, especially if you're at the back, maybe, Stefan.
It is always important. There's no time where it's not important unless you're racing with like four people. But it is always important. Your grid position, track position, it's always important. It's crucial to how you plan your race.
And Daniel Benefield, meanwhile, has just absolutely went off the racetrack, as you just seen, while Jerome Haig, who is currently second on the board, tries to top his original time, instead stops right before the point. He's 3/10 off the pole. Stefan Kempson, meanwhile, is trying to record one of the last few times, so things are getting a little nerve-wracking here to try and get in the best spot for the starting grid. 19 drivers so far have recorded qualifying times on the board, and a lot of our drivers have either not recorded times or had incident points during their qualifying laps, with the final moments of qualifying on your screen, as Kempson actually drops down the board, as another driver puts up another time, and it appears to have been Neil M. Adams who was able to get to fourth, while Clayton McLeod will get around the racetrack, but may just run out of time in the next couple moments here. He has 2 minutes to complete his lap. He should have, pardon me, just enough time to get around the circuit with the next minute and 55 seconds.
Yeah, let's see what he can do here. It's just 1 minute 48 remaining and he's in the last corner here. Let's see what he can do. Clayton McLeod over the line with a 131.8, so he's slightly improving his position. Into 10th he goes and wrecks his car.
And he sends his car off to the sky, enough to gain a couple more spots. For those that don't know, with opening qualifying with this series, they are going to allow them to finish off their laps if you say start a lap time before the end of the clock. So it's similar to real-life Formula 1 racing, where you're allowed to finish off your final lap rather than run out of time at the end of the clock. Christian Kabaka is currently 18th on the board with a 133.2 last time around. This time by, he actually picks up a fair amount of time, a 132 on the board, but did not count because of an incident point. So that appears to be the last running driver on the circuit. As the clock will finish off, it appears, as Damon Martinez sits in the pit boxes. But now, your final thoughts before we start off today's race.
Well, we have to look at a few things here. Obviously, strategy, who is going to do what, and that's your biggest focus point. What do you want to do with your race, with your grid position, and your speed? When we will find out? In the race.
We'll have to find out for sure, as it appears the starting grid has been locked into stone for today's race. A fair amount of competitors, one of the largest starting grids, I think, of the season so far, if not the largest starting grid. Last race, 26 starters, just around or just above that point for today's race. As the clock finishes itself off for the end of qualifying, so the starting grid is officially set up. As let's take a look at that set starting grid for today's action here on GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network. Daniel Benefield starts on the pole today with a 130.4050 today, with Jerome Haig starting on the outside of the front row. Floris Bechar starts in row 2 with Neil M. Adams in the 4th spot. Stefan Schmidt outstarts alongside Damon Martinez with Thomas Schlager and Stephen Kempson in row number 4. With Yana Noralapi, the Preacher, starting alongside the points leader, and Clayton McLeod in the top 10. Stefan?
Your 11th driver is Fabian Youngblood. Alongside him, Stefan Henkel, so German row right there. Reed Miller, 13th. David Peterson, 14th. Sam Winton rounding out your top 15. Christian Schmidt, 16th. Stefan Meinke starting in row number 9. Alongside Christian Kabanka and Chris Bain is the last driver to set in a lap. Alongside him, rounding out your top 20 will be David Lee Patterson.
And looking at the rest of their grid again, 26 officially now registered for today, matching the total from round 1 with David Lee Patterson, Daniel Sanfilippo, Edward Lack, along with Marco Sanfilippo, along with Andrew Butterfield and Manuel Gomez Esteban, rounding out the drivers for the 26 cars who will be sent to take the grid. Maxime Detilly, who is also the 26th official car, has not made the starting grid, so will start last if he makes it in time. But the drivers are getting all set to go, waiting for the 5 lights to appear off here, as we are just about all set to go here. Just a couple drivers ready to take on the grid here at this track. These drivers could go potentially up to 3-4 wide entering the first corner. We'll have to see how things go here today for the batteries not included second round here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke circuit. And with that, everyone's all set to go here. 39 laps around the Nürburgring. 5 red lights are popping up. The green lights are up. We're off and away here from the Nürburgring as we're already full wide. A bad start for the front row. A awful start from Daniel Benefield as he's forced to the outside line of the Hogkocken. Going on the perfect restart of the race, Neil M. Andrews launches his way all the way to the front after a great start. Boris Bashar moves his way all the way to second spot as well in the field. An absolutely great start for the second row of the race. An absolutely awful start off the launch for those first row today.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Benefield, normally a good starter, but just totally sleeping on that start, giving everyone behind him the opportunity to overtake him.
And we got a car in the wall, and it looks like that is Hogg, as he is now off the track, was in the 4th spot still, as battles shaping up across the track, heading towards the Dunlop curb. Battling between Muntz drivers right now, Norlopi and McLeod battling Muntz through. You look at the front drivers, try and work their way through as the top 3 have pulled on away for the rest of the group after a phenomenal start for the drivers of Andrew and Bashar. While Benefield tries to recover back on the start. You look right now at the battle forming up now for the 3rd, 2nd spot. As Benashar trying to defend, go to the defensive line to the Coca-Cola curve, the NGK chicane, as he works his way forward. No opportunity for the switchback for Benefield quite yet. A bit of a stack up just behind them, meanwhile, as Martinez nearly gets run over by Thomas Schlecker as they head towards the end of the first lap of 39. So an absolutely eventful start to this race as Stephen Kempson makes the pass on Thomas Zeiger going down the front stretch, with Stefan Schmidt trying to dive their way on forward. Zeiger going to take the high line, pushes the driver off the racing line at Kempson. So Kempson just all of a sudden, after gaining a couple spots, loses them right on back. An eventful first for a couple of laps of this race already.
Yeah, and they're still side by side here, going through the exit here of the Mercedes Arena. Now 3 wide in behind, or not quite, as Cabana thinks twice about it. Oh, McLeod way too far there.
And McLeod absolutely blows his way through the Vaseline curb as he works his way through the grass through the Ford curb. Absolutely missed the braking zone. So he will fall all the way back to 13th on one major mistake already in the early portion of this race. Still a lot of time to recover it, as let's look at the replay on what just happened there with McLeod.
Yeah, he had a very good run here out of this turn and then down the straight. It's quite a fast short shoot, and then just way too late on the brakes. Onto the gravel he goes and has to take the shortcut.
And now let's look at what happened to Hogg, who, remember, started off second for this race, was in the top 4 before a bad incident at the start of his race. All the way 24th now. Here's what happened to him, as you'll see on your screen.
Yeah, it's one of those moments, cold towers, too much throttle input, and around he goes into the wall.
Significant damage, having to get that repaired, as remember, no quick repairs here. So you have to take the full time, get the full wing repair, etc. As you look now towards some of the drivers trying to work their way around. This is currently, once again, in Hogg being well second. Pass for the battle position. Benefield able to make the pass on Benashar. So Benashar losing a lot of time as we'll look at that replay.
That was a perfect move into turn 1 there. Draft and then just outbraking his opponent into turn 1, holding the inside line, and move Benefield into your runner-up position.
And we're just 3 laps into the race, on lap 3 rather so far, and everyone's just been having to keep their heads on a swivel. So many drivers already trying to be very aggressive in the opening laps of this race, and it's just allowed at this point drivers like Neil M. Andrews and Daniel Benefield to try and start to set the tempo for this race.
Yeah, Neil Andrews, he's really setting the pace right now, but Daniel Benefield, he's now clear of Bizhar. He's already about 3 seconds ahead of... Oh no, sorry, I read that wrong. He's about 1 second ahead of Bizhar, so Benefield, he's already charging up to Andrews to get that first position back.
We'll see how Benefield does here as you look at the times on the bottom side of your screen, focusing on Flores. Benishar trying to pull in the toe, this time by fastest lap of the entire race so far by Benefield, a 131.822, a full second faster than everyone else on the racetrack, including the race leader. On average, 3 seconds faster than the mid-pack.
And it just shows once again what pace Daniel Benefield can put up if he has the clear track. And that's what makes him so strong. He knows how to utilize the track to his advantage.
He can absolutely do that. He took drop, I believe, for the first week of the season, and is trying to come up on top of the second race, as you continue to see right now, following along with Benefield, separated right now by 1.6 seconds on the 4th lap of today's Grand Prix of 39 laps, with Flores Benishar still in 3rd. Damon Martinez is all the way on his lonesome in 4th, but Stefan Schmidt is working their way through the field right now as well, in the 5th spot right now on the track, as Bishar once again currently looking towards them. Currently 3rd and losing a lot of ground to the top 2 after he had such a good start. Now look at the battle going on for P5. As mentioned, Schmidt and Ziegler were getting close between them, as Schmidt has been going back and forth a bit with Ziegler since the drop of the green flag. Ziegler has made some mistakes in this race, is still holding on though to that same sort of position and point away in fact from Kempson right now.
Yeah, Kempson, he had a good qualifying, but he is not really able to continue up on that as of right now. Now, saying that, he is 1 position up from his qualifying, but Ziegler, he is really going for it.
Meanwhile, something just happened to Andrew Bortoli, as you'll see on your replay, as he absolutely lost control of his car going out of the NG chicane. And now we go back to Nora Lampe, the Preacher also having trouble, it appears. This time, where the danger can come from the Hog Hacken, as he gets absolutely squeezed, sending 3 cars, in fact, into the sand trap. And this involved, it looks like McLeod, in fact, having a perfect view of this incident.
Yeah, Nora Lampe, he just completely outbraked himself there. Was probably hoping here a little bit to clear the car in front of him. That was Stefan Henkel. But nope, no way, and he collects him and sends him into a very nasty roll.
And there's already multiple cars now in the pits now because of that as well. McLeod, after going into the sand trap, falling all the way from where he was coming up through the field in 7th all the way to 12th rather, as you see the 2 drivers now sitting in the pits due to the incidents going on already. Stefan Henkel and Chris Bean were the ones you just seen. But this is a lot of time lost already by these 2 drivers, all because of that one mistake trying to squeeze an air driver off the racing line.
Well, I tell you something, who else is losing time, and that is Neil Andrews compared to Daniel Benefield. You just saw it. Daniel Benefield, new fastest lap of the race. He is already just 1 second behind your leader of Neil Andrews.
Closing in quickly as Andrews seems to be losing time on a lot of the corners compared to Benefield. A lot of the best drivers pick up time with being confident, it seems, going later on the brakes, being able to carry that speed on the exits. And that's what Benefield's doing, closing that time, it appears here, Stefan, like 10th by 10th each corner.
Well, if you're that kind of predator situation like you're like Benefield right now, you just know you have that target in front of you. You want to catch him, so you're able to get out that little bit, that 2 meters that you can brake later, or your 3 meters that you can accelerate earlier, and that's gonna make so much of a difference to you, your mentality, and it just completely destructs the confidence of the guy ahead who is trying to fight you off again.
I agree with you for sure. This time the gap shrinks down to 6/10, as this time not a new fastest lap, but just 2/10 off was Benefield, so he is laser focused right now on the back end of Andrews. as it looks like some more trouble, and this time it's Bichar. Bichar losing his control out of the hog hacken, spinning, nearly hitting the wall, but absolutely losing a lot of time because of a huge mistake, losing at least one spot, possibly two in this lap.
Yeah, the Thunderfoot got him right there, as you can see, just spins out under throttle, and yeah, lucky to not hit anything, and he lost one position to Damon Martinez.
Yeah, but that also put him all nearly to the battle with Stefan Schmidt and Thomas Ziegler as well. They're separated now by 5 or 6 car lengths now after all of that. So that could be a possible opportunity now for that group to pull on the toe to gain up to try and move up to 4th spot potentially. The thing is, though, the battle for the lead also starting to form up aggressively now. Once again with Benefield and Andrews, because Benefield has got the toe on the back of Andrews, heading to one of the 2 main passing zones, now within 1 car length. What can they do to the Coca-Cola curb as Andrews going to take the normal line this time? They head down the front stretch now as Andrews moving to the left side. Benefield pulling up into the toe. Will Andrews try and block? Benefield trying to drag on behind. He moves into the inside line. Cannot quite get there yet, but the back tire slide from Andrews, a slight touch. Benefield just can't make the move quite yet, but he's going to try the different line. Hits the perfect line, nearly loses control to the Mercedes arena. He'll move back to the inside curves, but just can't make the pass quite yet.
Fiercely fighting there from Benefield. He really wants to get by. He knows how important it is to get by now and then drive away from Andrews as long as he can until the first pit stop. But yeah, Andrews, he's doing a great job defending, not too fiercely, but defending just enough so he can keep Benefield behind him.
Indeed, right now, as they work their way out of the Dunlop curb and down towards the Michael Schumacher S in the Michelin curb section of the racetrack. Again, much faster speed for Benefield through that section. And now they go through the braking zone, working their way through the Michelin curb, now to the Warnsteiner curb. Losing time a bit as Benefield, as he seems to pick up a lot of speed out of the hard braking zones. He'll work on the back toe, move to the right side, going offensive line is Andrews. Andrews will hug the bottom side. Will they go tapping back and forth, working their way through the NGK curb? As this time Benefield able to make the pass, he takes the race lead on a perfect move to the NGK chicane.
Alright, now, Daniel, the pressure's off you, but will you be able to still hold your pace and not make any mistake with Andrews behind you? We don't know, you don't know, hopefully you don't, because your fans are cheering for you right now.
Absolutely they are right now for this team as they've currently trying to pull away as Benefield. Andrews trying to gain back time right now. But it's easier said than done. Losing a lot of time, in fact, an awful exit that time out of the Mercedes arena. Losing at least 3/10 on the lap just from that bad launch. Schmidt, meanwhile, having some trouble. Stefan Schmidt having trouble with Steven Kempson just now on the racetrack. This is also on the exit of the Mercedes arena, as both of them will lose significant amount of time because of this incident.
Yeah, it's 2 separate incidents. Schmidt in front, he is just taking too much speed into that turn, and Kempson losing it on the throttle out of the turn. Very unlucky for both, but both didn't hit anything.
On board with Kempson as he had, once again, had to go evasive maneuvers as you see here. So watching along as he just loses the traction on the back tires and skids his way to the left side. Then nearly adds front wing damage while trying to shift into reverse. But both of them losing some significant positions. Schmidt falls back to 8th, Kempson all the way back to 10th on the track. And as that now shapes itself out and calms its way forward, we look at some of the more significant battles forming up, losing a lot of time all of a sudden. In fact, to be Neil M. Adams as they work their way, working their way through some of the pit stops, in fact, that some of the drivers are taking. Working their way past David Lee Patterson, Manuel Gomez Esteban, and Stefan Minicki coming out of the pits just now right towards the racing line. So some drivers are taking some interesting strategies, whether it's from trouble or incidents, as things shape up for P13.
Yeah, they're fighting really hard right now, side by side going into turn 1. for P13. That's Marco Sanfilippo and Edward Lack. And Lack losing out here. Sanfilippo perfect pass into turn 1.
And Lack continuing to make a charge on forward while Marco Sanfilippo tries to pull on away from the back end of Edward Lack. Right now 2.5 seconds, probably 2.3 away from Nora Lampe, who's currently trying to recover from his earlier incidents in this race as you're falling on behind. But of course, already 10 laps out of 39 in. If you're some of these drivers, you've already seen some of the back drivers coming in. When do you pit at this point of this race?
The lap cars aren't that thick as Neil Andrews just gets majorly held up by one of them out of the NGK chicane. But yeah, it's not a problem right now, especially our leaders. They have about still half a lap to the big part of the lap cars. So I would, as of right now, just drag out that stint. Unless you're in a fierce battle and you think that you'll get held up, then you should probably start to think about pitting.
And you're looking now at the battle forming up for third spot. Meanwhile, these drivers have not reached much of lap traffic. In fact, just watched, I believe, as some of the lap traffic spun out and David Lee Patterson. They'll focus on the battle, though, as Martinez tries to pull on away from once again, from the recovery going on for this orange machine of Floris Bashar. He lost a fair amount of time, mind you, after losing control in that hog hiking corner, but now seems to have a bit of a faster pace compared to Martinez each lap, about 0.6 of a lap quicker.
Yeah, it's always easier to close a gap than to overtake someone, and Bashar, he's really fighting right now to make something happen here, as there was someone spun out, but he seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, and that was Christian Schmidt, it appears, that was spinning around there. So a lot of the lap cars are having significant issues here all of a sudden, as in the past lap around this battle, I've seen 3 different drivers, 2 of them in the pits, mind you, spin themselves out. So some of the lap traffic having some difficulties here with the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, appears.
Yeah, the Grand Prix Strecke is a bit of a unique circuit because it's such a low grip surface. That is because that surface is really old. So it can really be a trouble.
And looking at Stefan Schmidt now on replay, remember we just mentioned them just a minute ago, all the way back to the top 10, and this is why. Spinning around and knocking over some curbs. That was the driver you seen in the middle of the racetrack along towards that battle, as they'll fall all the way back behind McLeod on the racetrack. So a lot of drivers seem to be losing a lot of traction on the corner exits. Maybe a little too aggressive possibly on the gas?
Yeah, most definitely. You want to have quite an aggressive differential setup on these cars. But if you're not careful, you are gonna spin out. So, and that's exactly what we see. Just either inexperienced or having that bit too much of an aggressive differential setting. But the good thing is you can adjust that on the drive in your cockpit.
Speaking of experience, Daniel Benefield is up to 2 seconds of a race lead over Neil M. Andrews now, and continuously setting lap times in the 131s, the only driver on the track to be able to do so. So it's going to be the question of if you want to catch up to Benefield, what can you do at this point? He seems to be setting fastest lap after fastest lap, this time a 131.6, my goodness. And you continue to see him work his way around and pull his way some time now on Neil M. Andrews. The top 2, by the way, are 12 seconds away from that battle we talked about with Damon Martinez and Floris Bashar. That was for the 3rd and 4th spots on the circuit, with Thomas Liger currently on his lonesome as well in the top 5. Things starting to shape out, though, as well for the battle for 6th spot, it appears, as Christian Kabenka and Fabian Youngblood are trying to shape things out near bumper to bumper between the yellow machine in the front and the red machine in the back.
Yeah, and this is the battle of the two hard chargers. It's the unreal hard charger that we call here because Cabana, he didn't set a qualifying lap, or no, sorry, he did actually. I'm looking wrong. My bad. He is the real charger then. From 18th to 6th, and behind him, Fabio Jungbluth, he went from 11th to 7th. So these two, great race so far, and they're having right now a great battle.
Yeah, right now they're separated about 0.4 of a second, but they've been getting very close, especially down the straights right now, as Jungbluth has just been trying to pick up time after having not the best qualifying. 11th on the grid, he's 7th right now in the race, as mentioned again, on lap 13 of 39, heading towards lap number 14. And so it's now to where it's coming towards the difference of driving styles again, I think, between these guys, as Jungbluth really losing a lot of time at the corner exit after a late break through the NGK chicane, and that's going to possibly lose him some of the toe, in fact, to Kambenka up front.
Yeah, but both of them are really fast, so
hold on 1 second, as lap traffic might come into play, pardon me for cutting you off, as Dave Patterson really held up Thomas Slager just now, and is coming right into that position battle, so now this leads to the question, how much the lap traffic can come into play, because all of a sudden, lap traffic is making it what was a far distance for some drivers to a pretty close distance, as Jungbluth not able to take advantage.
Yeah, I think David, he was pitting, or he was in the pits, and that's why he was so close with them, because the next car is pretty much half a lap in front of them, so nothing to worry for them here. And yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out, because like if you're a Bishar right now, I would probably pit like this or the next lap or somewhere in between.
That leads to the next question, of course, with Formula 1 racing. For many people know, sometimes at certain tracks the undercut's more powerful, some tracks the overcut's more powerful. Which one, from what it sounds like, you want to go with the undercut strategy? Potentially, as Bashar nearly runs over the back wing of Martinez and just lost a ton of time trying to go for the pass. My goodness. In fact, just hit the right front wing on his car.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, like just completely outbraking himself there. So, yeah, I don't know what Bishar was doing there, but he was not looking where he was going.
Yeah, that was a confusing one, but now, as mentioned, he's got front wing damage. So how much will that affect him until he gets into the pits?
That affects him quite severely, even that little damage that he has right now that we see. It does affect you quite a lot, because this car doesn't generate a lot of downforce anyway, and this adds a significant amount of drag on your car. So now he really has to think about maybe just doing that major undercut.
We'll have to see if he goes for the major undercut. They gotta work their way through a couple more turns, working their way now through the Michelin curve now to the Warnsteiner curve this time around. Now heading, as you see him losing a fair amount of time on the track right now, just in a straight line alone, but trying to gain back up some of the time. We'll see if he pits as he works his way towards that pit entry area. Does he duck down this time? No, he does not. He's going to stay out on the racetrack for at least a couple more one more lap, maybe an extra one.
Yeah, maybe he feels that it's not affecting him too much, then obviously go ahead and stay out. Maybe you even are able to save some fuel behind the car ahead. So obviously we don't know all the numbers that he has, so we're guessing a little bit. But yeah, it seems that's not affecting him too much, so he stays out and tries to battle for third on the track.
Meanwhile, the battle for P11 heating up. Reed Miller now having to defend a hard-charging Michael Sanfilippo, who was battling before for 13th, remember, before with Edward Lack. Now able to close on up quickly, so he's starting to gain a pretty decent pace. 133s right now, currently faster than everyone, all the way up to 8th spot on the circuit.
Yeah, Sanfilippo, he's making a very good race so far. He didn't set a qualifying lap in, started 23rd, he's right now 12th, and he's looking to get that 11th spot ahead of them. We also have a battle heating up. It's Clayt McLeod versus Stefan Schmidt, and honestly, the next few cars, it's always a little bit of a battle, as Schmidt just with a very bad exit there out of the hairpin, and losing a lot of time to McLeod.
Yeah, last I looked that direction, they were near wing to wing, in fact, back wing to front wing. All of a sudden now it's a 10 car length difference between the two of them on the circuit. 1.1 seconds overall in terms of time. We're just approaching the halfway point once again of the Batteries Not Included series, round number 2 at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke. Currently in the lead right now, Daniel Benefield leading over Neil M. Adams on the circuit, followed by Damon Martinez as well as Flores Benachar for the battle going on for 3rd and 4th spots. But for Benefield, it's been domination. Meanwhile, Bashar taking advantage of mistakes, as again a mistake comes into play, this time Martinez on the exit of the Mercedes Arena.
Yeah, once again, one of those moments, just too fast on the throttle, losing it, and Bashar just comes in, says thank you very much, and I'm away.
And another mistake of burning up the back tires too quickly, trying to launch off the corner, and now Martinez having to pay for it, losing a fair amount of time now to Benachar. Difference now between them of about 4 or 5 car lengths here on the circuit. But looking back at some of the battles continuing to shape up, it's for some trying to get recovery drives, some of them trying to gain up as much time as they can right now. Now, compare some of the drivers right now that started, say, in the pits. Without a qualifying time around in Marco Sanfilippo. He's 43 seconds back of, say, these battling drivers. 30 seconds overall between them.
Yeah, it's hard to sometimes read the minds of the drivers, and to be fair, we're all different. Strategy-wise, pit strategy-wise, it comes down to all the smallest nuances that you can have. So if you have a track map, third-party app, go ahead, use it, and that is gonna give you some advantage, because are you gonna have some free track when you come out of the pit lane? Because that is also incredibly important, how your pit window is.
And Edward Lack has just opened up the pit window, in fact, as one of the first lead lap cars have come into pit. He was 14th at the time of the stop, as we'll have to see how he does with here. So do you see now that while he may be in the middle of the field, do you think this undercut could work for him potentially, as he gets the front wing repaired and replaced?
With the front wing replacement, it probably was a bit down to damage that he made this undercut. But hey, whatever works for you, works for you. Sometimes I've already seen that for some people the undercut worked, while back in the field you saw someone doing an overcut and that works for them. So yeah, it's really what rides your boat more. Is it the undercut that you think you're comfortable with? Then go for it. Is it the overcut? Then go for that. Because it always is the fastest strategy that you're the most comfortable with.
I agree with you for sure right now. Meanwhile, the battle going on, you can see right now Fabian Jonbloof, in fact, coming into the pits right from the battle. So he comes in for the 7th spot, so he'll go for the undercut to try and gain up some time now in the circuit. Meanwhile, as that's going on with a couple other drivers ducking on in, right now Bashar currently having to defend very aggressively now for the position with Martinez, as that has closed up on the circuit.
Yeah, Martinez is not giving up on that P3, and rightfully so. He has the pace to stay with Bashar, and if he can make that work, obviously also the little bit of damage is helping him on Bashar to stay with him. But Martinez, great race so far. He started in 6th, he's 4th right now, and he really wants that podium.
Yeah, and also in Jona Noralampe, the Preacher, now getting some fresh tires and fuel to get off to the finish. He also has to get a front wing repaired. Looks like the left front wing was damaged from that incident from a few laps ago into the Hoghacken. So he'll come out into the pits right towards the racing line in 16th spot. But it looks like some trouble's starting to form up as the tire wear starts to build up, it seems, for a couple of these drivers now. A lot of wings damage, and a lot of these situations now, it appears, where, well, some drivers are trying to go for recovery drives. A lot of them are starting to get into the starting to crash as more drivers come in right behind this battle.
And I just looked at the times that we see, and these two, they might actually run into some traffic if they pit early, because they're right now having about 30 seconds of difference to Danilo Sanfilippo. So if Martinez or Bishar think about pitting early, they might run into some troubles because of backmarkers.
And that could... How much would that affect the undercut? Because we see that in real life where you go for the undercut, you get stuck in traffic, the undercut doesn't work, and you end up losing time compared to the driver you're trying to actually beat out on the circuit. As Nora Loppe just had to let the leader's arm go by, as right now Nora Loppe lapped right now by Benefield. Benefield lapping his way up to 14, that's the pit cycle going on. But how much of a factor will that be? How much time, rather, do you think they will lose just by being behind, say, one lap car?
Yeah, it depends how slow that lap car is, but we're seeing about 2-second difference in the lap times. So if you have the problems of being stuck for too long behind a lap car, then you really run into some problems.
And Andrew's going for the undercut. It looks like his team, in fact, electing to come in with the Motiv.com back wing sponsors, all ducking into the pits within the same cycle of laps. He's off into the cycle, so this is going to be the undercut to try and get by Benefield. That was a 4-second difference between the two of them. And Andrews comes off and away. The pit stop time for Andrews as he conducts his way off towards the racing line. Decent amount of time, in fact. You look at the rest coming in, 8.5 seconds to be exact, pardon me. 32 seconds in the pit lane, so a 40-second pit delta, as Kempson and a lot of other lead cars are all coming in this time.
Yeah, and Neil, he had the perfect gap there as Stefan Schmidt. He overshoots his pit stall there a little bit, had to back off. And yeah, Neil, he can really go for it because he has no traffic whatsoever. And
Benefield's still setting the fastest laps by a full half a second each time. Right now in the 1:31.7s, while, mind you, with a lighter fuel load now, of course, since the car is nearly towards the end of its fuel cycle for the race here on lap 21. So he's going to stay out, currently work his way past that pit entry line once again and stay out even more so. It might be absolutely difficult to even catch up to Benefield if the pace of these drivers on fresh tires is nowhere close, it seems, unfortunately, to them, to Benefield today.
Yeah, but Benefield, it seems that he is a bit in a league of his own. He right now also has no worries about any lap traffic. So Benefield, it's gonna be hard to catch him, let's put it like that.
Yeah, now you're looking at Flores Bishar on your screen, still battling a bit with Damon Martinez. He's done an impressive job to be able to keep in front of Martinez since Martinez made that mistake about 3-4 laps ago. And able to deal with the front wing damage and able to get it to the pits in time to be able to get the front wing replaced. And now it's possibly a chance to just pull away now that he's done his pit stop, got the new fresh wing, and can try, just has to hope to get it clean, it looks like. Stefan.
Yeah, I just had to look because I apparently missed that pit stop from both of them. So you caught me a bit off guard there with the repaired wing. But yeah, Flores Bishar, he came out in front again. He's now starting to drive away from Damon, so that tells you how much of a difference maker that little damage of the front wing was for Bishar.
Yeah, completely agree with you for sure, as he's, again, currently in line to be on the second step of the podium today. Few other drivers still have not pit, include Clayton McLeod trying to stretch out a long stint. Also, Reed Miller, you see coming in is Damon Martinez, as he's off into the pits now for his pit stop.
And it's gonna be interesting where he comes out. Let's see, 30 seconds behind. That is a bit of a battle there between Cabana and Fabian Jungbluth. So he runs a bit of a risky strategy there. Coming in right now, he might run into some problems, but I think he might just luck out and come out in front of them.
Indeed, right now you're looking now, though, at some of the continuous battles shaping up. You see, the undercut didn't work for Jungbluth. Pardon me, the overcut, rather, on Kabenka. Kabenka currently a point away a little bit more so now as they pass by Reed Miller in the pits. So a lot of drivers have been able to pull away some time from some of the battles that they were having before as Martinez comes out just behind them.
And there we go, that's exactly what we talked about. Now Martinez has to fight with Kempson. That is 4th position for him. That's between 9th and 10th here.
And Benefield has elected to come in now to the pits with about 15 laps to go for lap 24. So currently the difference between first and second, 26 seconds as he ducks his way into the pits. Question is it going to be enough of a gap? He's been the most dominant, just makes it to the mid-pit marks. Neil Andrews is currently in the 3rd spot and is the closest driver to watch. Benefield with the quickest stop of the race, a 7.5, and the quickest pit delta with a 31.4 in the pit lane. So Benefield doesn't even blink an eye. He is able to actually pick up an extra 10 seconds rather on Andrews.
Yeah, impressive by Daniel there. Doing what no man can do, but he apparently can, so I'm starting to think, is he really a man?
It's not good to assume. Let's just put it at that. Clayton McLeod, meanwhile, coming in. So his overcut strategy is at its end here. The question is, where will he come out? He came into today as the points leader in that purple and black machine. He comes off and away out of the pits with a 7.8. So him and Benefield able to take light fuel because they were able to stretch the overcut so long. And Benefield, pardon me, once again, McLeod comes away in the 9th spot. So he actually picks up a couple spots with the overcut.
Yeah, Clayton McLeod, he really makes that overcut work for him every single time we see him. So, yeah, Clayton McLeod once again making the overcut work. And Floyd Bieshar, he is still staying out. So, Benefield, he elected to come in when the traffic was starting to get thick. And Flores, he's just running it and running it and running it. And I'm starting to think if Benefield really did the smart move here.
Possibly. Pardon me for saying that Bieshar had pit before, as remember he had some damage on the right front. You've seen, and sometimes in terms of iRacing there's the potential of a graphical difference. Apparently the front wing not showing the damage anymore as he has not come in for the pit stop. Still 4.5 seconds though ahead of Daniel Benefield. He had lost a fair amount of time shuffling and battling for position at the time for the 3rd spot. With once again trying to battle for position rather with Martinez. And Martinez, his strategy hasn't worked either. Martinez is all the way back in 8th spot.
Yeah, Martinez, he is still not getting past Kempson. He is still stuck in behind him, running slower laps than he has been all day long. Ahead of them, we still have Cabana and Jungbluth. They're still fighting fiercely for that P5.
Yes, they almost had the opportunity seen for Jungbluth to make the pass, but has lost some time, in fact, working their way out towards the way through the Ford curve and towards the Dunlop curve this time.
And Bieshar, he is now into pit lane. Sorry to interrupt you there. But yeah, our leader, he is now in pit lane, giving Daniel Benefield his lead back. And I'm pretty sure Bieshar, he will get into 3rd place and by quite some margin because he is about 44 seconds ahead of Thomas Ziegler.
An absolute advantage tonight, an absolute show for Daniel Benefield today. As you look at Ziegler right now on your screen, he's had he's had somewhat of a quiet day to try and work his way to a podium today. He had some battling going on for just the top 5, but he's been able to set a decent pace since the pit stops in the 133 range right now.
Yeah, it's... I mean, we're talking about Benefield there, so... And Ziegler, he's putting up an impressive feat. So Ziegler, I honestly, I didn't have him on my book at all. So really, Thomas, congrats for proving me wrong.
Indeed, right now, still double-digit laps to go on lap 26 of 39. A lot can still happen. Mistakes can still happen in any portion of the racetrack for sure, as a lot of the drivers seem to spread themselves out outside of the battle, starting to shape up for the 5th spot that we talked about before. Because what was once a 2-car battle looks like it has the potential to turn to 4, because look, if we can look towards that direction right now, look who's catching up to the back of that train, to the back of Youngblue. To the back of the train right now is Kempson and Martinez, both of them able to use the slipstream to start to catch on back up to that battle.
And you know what? I had a bit of doubt there with Martinez, because like he is so far behind where he used to be, that being B-sharp, and it came to my attention. Martinez, he had a pit stop time of 23.9 seconds, so that is 15 seconds. So you know what he did? He ran the pit speed limiter.
That is something that a lot of drivers can do. The modern day Formula 1 machines also have the option for. As you look at David Martinez, gap to the leader 49 seconds, that's a lot. But, so it's a chance, despite losing the chance to battle for the 3rd spot, to try and battle for a top 5 today, as he overcooks the corner on your screen to the Hoghacken and loses some time right to the back of Stephen Kempson. So Stephen Kempson could potentially join up this battle within the lap if he plays his cards right and hits the line the way he needs to.
It's really gonna be interesting, because if they start to fight way too much, it's no longer, well, it is already no longer a 2-car battle, it is now a 3-car battle. But if they fight more and more, you're also gonna have Martinez there, and Martinez is by far the quickest out of them.
Yeah, you see the time there. He was 3/10 faster last time by. Might be a bit slower this time after having the not as good exit this time in turn 1 in this lap. But it looks like Christian Kabenka just has a bit of a faster pace, despite the slower lap times than Youngblue, to just keep on pulling away every single time they go through the technical corners.
Yeah, it seems like Kempson is not as confident with his car yet in the slow turns, so he takes it a bit easy out of the turns to not spin his car again. Remember, we already saw him spin once. So Stephen, he's taking it easy through the slow sections and tries to make all his way up.
And here we go, hold on. Youngblue moving to the left side, defensive line for Kabenka. He'll try and defend on the bottom side, working their way to the Hoghacken. He gets the run on the corner exit, where they go for the switchback as Youngblue just cannot get in the position to do so quite yet. So Youngblue tried it, but couldn't get the job quite done, as the battle shifts back to 3 as Kempson spins behind him. He does a full 360 right in the middle of the Mercedes arena, and he'll fall all the way back to 8th spot and hold up Martinez.
Yeah, Kempson, he tried to be careful, but there, the feelings of being in the top 5 got to him and spins it around there on the throttle once again, just like he did earlier in this race.
And that shifts the battle that was turning to a 4-car battle down to just 2, as Kempson falls all the way back to where he started the race in 8th spot because of that mistake. And it's going to take a bit of work to even just to catch back up to Martinez, as Martinez right behind this battle has gone for 360 as well. He spins across the middle of the racetrack, as going for defensive action is Kempson as he moves back to 7th spot. So mistakes of galore, as Martinez will fall back to 9th because of this.
Yeah, Martinez there, it was a bit of, I got it, I don't.
It looked like he hit the curbs there that might have sent him a bit shifting around, because that has the potential to really change the weight of the car.
Yeah, it is a bit of a higher curb there. It's pretty much the only higher curb that you have on this track. And then right after the curb, it falls again, and that's exactly what caught him there. I'm pretty sure he would have had it without that curb there, but it was sadly there, and he didn't have it quite.
And you know who's smiling now, probably, as McLeod, as all of a sudden he was able to move up to 8th because of the spin from Martinez. So now McLeod's going to pick up a little bit more points in this race, and has gained a lot more time now on Kempson to possibly move up to 7th after having a quiet race for the middle portion of today with 10 laps to go.
10 laps to go, and it would appear that Clayton, I think he has the pace on Stephen Kempson, so we might see something there in the last lap or so between Clayton McLeod and Stephen Kempson. But right now, all eyes are first of all obviously on Daniel Benefield, as you have him on your screen right now. He is just way too dominant, nearly 14 seconds ahead. But also another set of eyes you should keep on the battle between Christian Cabanca and Fabian Jungbluth, because they're still fighting fiercely for that last spot in your top 5.
And Jungbluth actually almost climbed up the back wing, it appears, going through the NGK chicane last time, as Cabanca has to go defensive line once again. So these two are trying to fight for any point they can. Cabanca watches as Jungbluth tries to outbrake him, but again Cabanca slides up on the racing line, able to cut himself off of the block, and again Jungbluth can't take advantage to make a pass. It just looks like Cabanca knows that Jungbluth just cannot seem to get the traction down on that outside line, of course, through the hog hack and taking the defensive line each time.
Yeah, the hog hacking is a bit of a special term because of the big drop it has in the middle of or right on the apex rather. So Jungbluth, he is struggling to get past Christian, but that is not only due to all the attempts he does into hog hacking, but also because Christian is just so good at defending right now against Fabian, and you really gotta hand it to him. He does a great job holding on to that 5th position.
I absolutely agree with you, because he keeps on hugging the left side of the racetrack, basically the preferred line to try and make the pass, knowing that if he gives it up, Jungbluth is going to move on by. Jungbluth, in fact, tries to get him on the outside this time. Can't make the switch back. So again, Cabanca with the defensive line shoves off Jungbluth off the racing line, and Jungbluth will have to try again. We'll see if they'll try again going into turn number 1 this time. This time, Jungbluth going to use the slipstream, in fact, on Cabanca. Moves to the left side. They'll be side by side, entering the first corner as Jungbluth outbrakes him. But again, Cabanca, the traction comes down again as Jungbluth nearly goes in the sand. So more perfect execution on the block for Cabanca, trying to defend that line, as you talked about.
It's just, I'm admiring Christian right now. I'm also quite good at defending my position if it comes down to, but what Christian shows everyone right now is perfect execution. He just exactly does what he has to do, no more, no less, and it works perfectly.
Right now, they are currently halfway till the next passing zone as they continue to intensify this action. Again, with 8 laps to go, they're battling for the 5th spot on your screen as you see them. 0.3 of a second separating the two of them as they work their way out of Michael Schumacher-S and towards the Michelin curb and the Warnsteiner curb. Cabanca does not have as much of a quicker exit compared to Jungbluth here, but each time, as you've seen for the past 4 or 5 laps, Cabanca's been able to defend towards the inside, heading towards the NGK chicane to take away the switchback. This time, Jungbluth nowhere near able to try and make a move quite yet, but Cabanca couldn't get as quick of a line as Jungbluth tries to trick him to the left side. Tried to dodge his way around to the Coca-Cola curb. In fact, gets towards the outside line. Cabanca gets to the inside. They'll go side by side once again down the start and finish line. That's Jungbluth. Can he take advantage this time? The answer is once again a resounding no. As Cabanca again cuts across that racing line, cuts the momentum of Jungbluth, as Jungbluth again can't capitalize to the Mercedes as they head into the Mercedes arena.
Young Blues right now has to be careful because he is starting to get impatient. You can see it. His car is starting to slide more and more out of the turns. He's starting to get more and more aggressive on the throttle to get that perfect exit. And it could come back and haunt him.
And something that could come back and haunt Reed Miller, who was in the top 10, has just made a major mistake. This is again turn number 1, entering that section on your replay, losing 2 spots because what you're about to see right about here on the racetrack.
Once again, too fiercely on the throttle, spinning it out under pressure. And yeah, Reed Miller losing all those positions that he's so...
Yep, and all the way back to 12, started 13th, and was in the mix for the middle of the top 10 for parts of today's race. But guess who moves up to the top 10? Marco Sanfilippo, all of a sudden, who did not record a time in qualifying, is in the top 10, and still setting a fast pace.
Yeah, Sanfilippo, we already talked about him once. We're gonna talk about him another time as Young Bluth once again on the outside here into turn 1. Not outbraking himself. This time the switchback works both a little bit squarely on the throttle. Let's see, on the outside here, turn 2, what can he do? He is still holding it side by side, and finally, he goes past Christian Kabak.
And a great execution on that pass that time. Young Bluth, you'll see the reason how he got the job done on the replay. You see Kabenka getting too late this time, trying to take away the inside line. Young Bluth able to go side by side, and by the time they get to the braking zone, Young Bluth able to go for the crossover this time, able to pressurize Kabenka to make a mistake, his first mistake in the past 10 laps, and now Young Bluth is up to the top 5. But all that battling has turned it back to a 3-car battle because they were battling so much, so aggressively, putting each other up for so much time that Steven Kempson has rejoined the back end of Kabenka now.
The interesting thing right now is, can Christian get back to Fabian and challenge him again for that 5th position? Also, he now has to gather himself again, defend that 6th position yet again, but this time from another person, and this time it's Steven Kempson who is on the back of his car.
And for Kempson, remember, he had a chance to pass some of these drivers before he lost control of his car and held up himself and Martinez after spinning on the coming out of the Mercedes arena. This has been a heck of an effort to try and regain the 5-6+ seconds that he lost here, as now he's on the back end once again of Kabenka, pulling on away as Young Bluth with the pace.
Yeah, it seems like that once Young Bluth now is free, that he really has the pace over Christian Kabenka and can start to slowly creep away from him and Steven Kempson. But yeah, all eyes now Kempson. What can he do with the advantage of now being right under the rear wing of Christian Kabenka?
New fastest lap time you just seen again. 2 straight laps in a row. Daniel Benefield with the fastest lap of 131.2 this time. A 19-second advantage over Neil Adams now in the circuit. And getting to him again. He hit the strategy the perfect way today. Many drivers agree, it seems, across the paddock that the overcut is the preferred strategy for one reason. Lighter fuel, having to have less time in the pits. Benefield has had the perfect combination, it seems, today of strategy, car, and speed.
Yeah, the Australian really with the perfect combination here. He is gonna probably take it home, and I think he only didn't lead like, what, 5 laps or 4 laps today, so really perfect performance by him.
Indeed, right now, Kempson, meanwhile, perfect chance to try and make a move as Kempson tries to go hard into the inside out of the first corner. Kabenka cuts hard across the racing line as he holds up the passing chance for Kempson, as he had to get out of the gas to try and avoid the back of Kabenka.
Yeah, that was a bit interesting there between the two. I give you that.
Speaking of interesting, McLeod battling now with Martinez for the 8th spot just behind them. So remember that possibility? Well, Martinez has closed his way, appears on the back end of McLeod, sending a faster lap time by 0.8 of a second, in fact, last time by. So the question is, can Martinez take away some points from the overall points leader after the one last round?
A lot of questions are still in the room here. What will happen between P6? What will happen between P8? I tell you what, you're only gonna find out if you stay with us for the last 4 laps here on the iRacing Esports Network.
And who do you favor in this kind of a situation is what I want to ask you, of course, because McLeod won last week's race, and McLeod having a bit of a bobble. Looked like he had a bit of a scare part in me there for a split second, but lost a couple tenths here and there, having to hold on to it, it appears.
Yeah, I have to say, I didn't see anything on my screen, so maybe it was just a little bit of a netcode there, which obviously can happen as we're internet racer. But yeah, if I would be in a situation right now between Damon Martinez and Clayton McLeod, I would like to be the car ahead, because I'm very confident while being the car ahead, because I'm so good at defending. I'm not very good at attacking someone, because I'm not the guy who's really good on the brakes. So I like to be the car in front, dictate the pace of the car behind, and maybe, hey, even you're able to catch up to the 2 cars in front and then maybe do something there.
Indeed, right now you see right now in the back, Martinez trying to pull the toe. 3 laps to go as Benefield's just worked his way out of the Mercedes arena, as this continues to shape on up to be a possibly exciting finish for a lot of the positions, all the way from 6th back to 9th on the circuit, still up for grabs today, as McLeod really pulls his way away from Martinez now. Martinez losing a ton of time, now coming out that time out of the Warnsteiner curve.
And ahead, I just saw the glimpse of it, Stephen Kempson. He is still trying Christian Cabanca. He had to go defensive once again into NGK chicane. So Stephen Kempson, he is really putting the pressure onto Christian Cabanca right now.
Cabanca again, defensive line towards the pit wall, trying to stay on the inside line. Kempson tries to squeeze him, in fact, as Kempson moves outside. Can Kempson make the traction stick this time? No, Cabanca pushes him out, and now, just like that, McLeod is nearly caught up to the back of them because of how much they've been battling between the two of them. So with now 2 laps to go, this is now a 4-car scrap forming up for P number 6 potentially.
And Cabanca really has to be careful now what he does while defending, because he's a bit aggressive while defending as of right now. Maybe this due to the pressure, or most certainly that is due to the pressure, because once again Stephen Kempson, just like Fabian Jungbluth, both are putting in immense pressure on the car of Christian Cabanca.
Now they work their way again through Michael Schumacher S. Between the left and the right now towards the Michelin curve and the Warnsteiner curve once again. Kempson has been working hard as he could to gain up some time after spinning out before. About 15 laps to go through the Hoghacken. Can he make this job stick this time? Still 2 laps to go on the circuit. About once again, a lap and a half to go for overall race leader. So lots of time for these drivers to shape their way around the circuit. Kempson, he falls on the tire tracks once again, and Cabanca trying to get the toe. Is this a distance that Cabanca could defend from this time? As Kempson, not close quite enough yet, just matching his speed halfway down the front stretch, as he just cannot get there quite yet to make the attack on Cabanca again. But look at the attack behind. McLeod trying to nearly get into the back wing of Kempson. Oh. He pressurizes him into the grass. So Kempson falls back to 8th spot and back to Martinez to try and battle for the spot, as you'll see the reason why there after the pressure from behind from McLeod.
Yeah, Kempson once again with a little bit of a slide on the throttle there. Switching over to the right side, you will be able to see as he loses the rear right there. And yeah, Kempson once again cracking under pressure.
And we got trouble for your 2nd place finisher as the final lap is underway. The white flag is out. Neil Andrews has damaged his right front wing coming into the Coca-Cola curb. but he's got a far enough distance by 10 seconds rather, to the next position back to Floris Bichar. But near disaster, he'll try and hold on to the podium, but for today, it's been Daniel Benefield who has been the king of the field today here in Germany. He only has about a half a lap to go, as he's been setting the fastest laps of the Grand Prix for the past 10 laps straight, just about. A 1:30.9, the fastest overall today.
Yeah, Benefield, he really put on a show today, as probably the battle for P8 is now also a bit decided, because Damon Martinez, he had a big wiggle out of the NGK chicane, as Daniel Benefield, he is now coming to set chicane, perfectly going through the last time and into Coca-Cola curve.
And for Daniel Benefield, after starting off today on a weak run, he was able to recover quickly, have the raw pace, the perfect strategy. He takes the checker flag, and he'll win round number 2 in Germany. In fact, winning it in style, as you've seen the fastest lap of the Grand Prix at the checker flag, a 1:30.6, while Neil Andrews, after smacking the wall to the Coca-Cola curb on the second to last lap, will still come away a long ways away from the third spot on the grid. He'll take the second step of the podium for the second round of the Batteries Not Included series, but Floris Bichar will take the third step of the podium. A dominant performance for the top 3 today. The top 3 come away cleanly on the final lap to finish on the podium. But the battle's still shaping up for position all the way back towards where Christian Kabenka trying to hold on. He's currently still barely holding on to Clayton McLeod by about 4 car lengths with a few corners to go.
Yeah, and behind Kempson, he's really now trying to hold on against Damon Martinez. They're coming now side by side into the NGK chicane. What can Martinez do later on the brakes? And he gets the overtake there on Steven Kempson.
And Kempson falls back an extra spot as 5th on back comes across the line. Jan Bluf will get 5th, Kabenka 6th, McLeod 7th. But Martinez, with a great pass to the NGK chicane, will finish 8th today. A heck of a race today for a lot of these competitors, especially up in the top 10. Lopping all the way up to 10th today was Benefield today to come away with the checker flag. With that, we'll take a quick step aside here on the iRacing Esports Network and GSRC. When we come back, we'll have post-race interviews and your finishing results here for Batteries Not Included. You're watching the second round of the Batteries Not Included series from the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Welcome back, everyone, to the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network after a pretty exciting day today here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke circuit. Daniel Benefield was the one who came up on top today with the perfect strategy, the perfect pace, and the perfect setup for today, winning by a dominant 32 seconds over Neil Adams. Floris Bichard came away with the top 3 today, while Thomas Seeger finished off 4th. Fabian Jamblouf came away in the 5th spot today after starting 11th, while Christian Kabenka, who in his words said the race was tough, went from 18th to 6th today. Clayton McLeod came away 7th and will lose some points after coming into today as the points leader, while Damon Martinez, after having a speeding penalty for a 23-second pit stop, finished off in 8th. Stephen Kempson lost the spot and fell back to 9th on the final lap to finish 9th, while Marco Sanfilipino finished off 10th to be the last car on the lead lap. The rest of the grid as it goes here as Stefan Schmidt finished off 11th, with Reed Miller, Yona Laura Lumpy, and 11th through 13th rather. In 14th is Daniel Sanfilipino, along with Edward Lack and Stefan Malik. Along behind them is Sam Winton, who had a very quiet day, while Jerome Haig finished 11 laps down today, after crashing twice in the Grand Prix. Andrew Boderfield finished off 19th, with Dave Peterson in 20th. Rounding out the grid today, Christian Smith, David Lee Patterson, Manuel Gomez Esteban, Stefan Henkel, Chris Ben, and Chris Bean all finishing off as DNFs. A do not start, though, happened tonight, as Maxime Detilly did not make the starting grid today. But with that, a lot of hard work put in today's race, especially by our race winner today. Daniel Benefield, the pole sitter and your race winner by 32.7 seconds, joined us here on the GSRC broadcast booth. Daniel, how does it feel? How are you feeling, rather, after dominating this afternoon?
It was actually nice turning back a few years and driving this car again, to be honest. I forgot just how great it is to drive.
Let's talk about how you got this setup really dialed down and got yourself to where you were able to have the dominating pace today. Hey, what kind of work did you put in to try and make sure for what I believe is actually your first Grand Prix of the season for the Batteries Not Included series, is to try and to dominate the way you did today by as far as you did?
Not much, to be honest. I just use Clayton's base setup that he puts on the forum, and just made a couple of more like personal changes to the car to get it driving more to how I like it, and that was it really.
And if I heard you correctly, you mentioned that you don't have much experience with the Williams Toyota FW31. What drew, if you don't mind me asking, how so, and what drew you to being a part of Batteries Not Included, starting with round number 2?
I actually used to drive the car quite a bit back in 2015 when it was the pro car, and I've been a bit busy with other stuff, mainly with the HPD, driving that a bit. But I've had some time to put some laps in practice and decide the race today.
Real quickly, of course, a couple more quick questions before we let you go for today. Coming away, of course, with the victory today. An absolutely dominating one, as talked about a couple times already. But for the next round, we're going to Circuit Park Zandvliet for 47 laps. How do you feel about that circuit?
Probably won't race, to be honest. We're busy with our endurance program. Positive Sim Racing for next week, so I probably won't be able to race. I don't even know what the track after that is, but we'll see if I can race in 2 weeks' time.
The race after that is at Suzuka, but anyone you want to thank before you let you go real quick?
Yeah, that's our guys at Positive Sim Racing for all the work they do in various different series. I know the guys had GT Pro qualifiers start today, so they've been really busy setting up for that. Our sponsors, the University of the Isabel I and Raymond Health Technologies, as well as Clayton for putting the series on, and you guys as well for broadcasting.
Congratulations on the victory today. Daniel Benefield coming away as the winner of round number 2. Now standing by with Stefan is your second place finisher, is Neil Andrews. Stefan?
Yeah, and the question that I have to ask is, Neil, what was that start? That was nearly Ferrari-like.
I couldn't believe it myself. I just got it hooked up and the car went. And I was just like, well, there's a little gap to the right-hand side. I have to go for it and just see what happens. And when I come out of turn 1, going into turn 2 and with the lead, I was just thinking, wow, what a start. Just put my head down and concentrate on the rest of the race.
And what a race it turned out to be for you, leading for so many legs, being able to hold off Daniel Benefield until he finally got past. And then it started suddenly to be a very quiet race. How did you manage your tires, your race, your fuel, your everything after you were pretty much lonely on the track?
Well, I wouldn't say I held off Daniel. I think he was having a bit of a race behind me, which that allowed me to pull a bit of a gap. Yeah, when he caught me up, I was, going too wide into the last chicane, and we made that stick. That's really good racecraft from both of us, really. Yeah, just concentrate, making sure I didn't sort of push the car too much. In practice, I've been over edging the car and just spinning up. I think the last lap, coming onto the last lap, I made a mistake in the chicane and sort of damaged my front wing, but luckily had enough gap to get me in second place. But yeah, just making sure each corner coming out, don't go full throttle, short shift, and just keep myself every corner doing that, saying that to myself to get through the race.
Yeah, you mentioned the near crash that you had, and to be honest, you were really lucky there to not hit that pit wall, because you came really close to that one.
I thought I was skateboarding when I come out of the last chicane, and I hit the curb, and suddenly it just beached on the curb. It's just, and then I thought I was railing it down the as you would do on a skateboard, and then it just bit and went right, and I was just like, where am I going? But yeah, I think that was luck. That was all luck. That was no skill.
You gotta be skilled to be lucky. But yeah, before we let you go, one last quick question here. How do you feel going forward to Circuit Park Zandvoort?
Well, the whole team, the MOATF team, are looking forward to pushing forward for the whole season, actually. As I said I only joined the league at the end of last season. I think my first race was Villeneuve. And yeah, I'm looking forward to competing in the rest of the season with the team, with Luxim 24 MOATF. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Looking forward to seeing you once again on our screens racing for hopefully another podium there. That was Neil Andrews, your second place finisher, and Justin has caught up with your third place finisher, Floris Bichar.
Yes, indeed, Flores coming away on the third step of the podium today in what was also a great start, similar to the Ferrari-like start of Neil Andrews as just discussed before. But let's talk about, first off, some of the difficulties of this race today. How difficult was this race for you today with some of the battling really you had in near contacts in some cases?
Yeah, really brief summary. Exciting. I did have some problems controlling the car for some reason, and probably down to a lack of practice in race trim because I was focusing qualifying for a change. But yeah, just lack of focus. And after the pit stops, or just before the pit stop, really, I found my focus again and just kept going after that. But I had a couple of incidents, and yeah, I'm not proud of it, but I'm happy I kept the car out of other people's cars, as well as walls and curbs and grass and more walls.
Indeed, for sure. As well with this track today, hey, you're one of the few drivers to try and go for the furthest overcut of the race. In fact, you went for the furthest overcut of the race. Hey, many drivers will probably say this. The overcut stronger than the undercut that a majority of the drivers tried today. Do you agree, yes or no, and why or why not?
Oh, I definitely agree with that because the tires just keep going as opposed to the McLaren, and you can basically, as the car lightens up, you can start pushing more. Basically, becomes a qualifying setup, so you can start running qualifying laps, possibly towards the end of your stint, if you're being nice to your car. Because you're stopping way later, you put less fuel in the car, and refueling always usually takes longer than changing the tires. So if you can find the spot where the tires get changed as fast as the car gets filled up, then add a couple of kilos more, and you've got a race strategy.
And it seemed like a good one as well to come away still in the podium, having a fast car as well, which of course is one of the main keys with that strategy. But of course, next race for the series heads to Circuit Park Zandvoort for 47 laps. How do you feel about that race weekend?
Oh, I quite like Zandvoort. It's one of my favorite tracks, not only because it's like the closest racetrack in iRacing to where I live, but it's a nice flowing track that has some slow corners in it as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Going to be interesting, Zandvoort, as pardon me for calling it Zandvoort. So real quickly, anyone you want to thank before you, pardon me, real quickly. Is there anyone you want to thank before you let you go here?
Yeah, Clayton McLeod, as always, for putting this together. You guys for doing an awesome broadcast. And I want to give a shout out to Child's Play, the charity that I have running as the main sponsor on my car, which aren't actually paying me, which I just slapped on the car because I thought their logo was awesome and what they do is awesome as well. So I figured I'd give them a shout out.
And real quickly, if anyone wants to donate to that said charity, where can they go?
Well, the website's actually on the rear wing of my car, which you cannot actually see in the broadcast at the moment. But yeah, it's...
Yes.
Oh, right, okay. It's www.childsplaycharity.org.
Good to know, as many people are good to know that you're helping out charity. Congratulations on the podium today.
There we go. Yeah, I see it now. So yeah.
That was Flores Bichar coming away on the podium. Apologies for mispronouncing the circuit at Park Zandvoort, as that is honestly one of the first times I've actually heard that pronounced out loud to say. But your final thoughts, to be honest, though, Stefan, before we head into the third round of the season.
Well, we will most definitely see a new winner compared to today, because Benefield isn't going to race. So it will be interesting. Is Zandvoort quite different than what we have here? A very tight, no long straights. So it will be very interesting, especially with these trigger-happy cars on the throttle like we saw today. It will be interesting because of all these tight turns at Zandvoort.
Indeed, as that will wrap up today's coverage of the Batteries Not Included series here on the iRacing Esports Network and the Global Sim Racing channel. First off, we'd like to thank the organizer of the series, Clayton McLeod, and the rest of the Batteries Not Included community for putting on a great show and a great race today, all the way through the middle of the field for today's race. We'd also like to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen right now. Additional thanks go to Eric Elcom and Jude Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today of Nick and Amjad. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as to don't miss a minute here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Also hit that notification bell for both the iRacing Esports Network and GSRC to keep up with the racing action. Be sure to stick around, because in just 20 minutes time, GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network will have your coverage of the Camel GT Championship at Silverstone. Joe Peak and Nick Smeg will have the call, while Stefan will be in the race. Next week, batteries not included, we'll head to the virtual Circuit Park Zandvoort for the third round of the season. Coverage will start at 10 a.m. on GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network. We also have a number of upcoming races as you see listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down in your calendar. Thank you very much for tuning in and thank you very much for enjoying today's broadcast. Congratulations to Daniel Benefield on the win. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.